Hello, I am Third Coaches. My name is Eric Huster, and I will be your all's presenter today. Really looking forward to a new season of I Am Third basketball, and we're just so thankful that we get to run another season, and especially thankful for you coaches willing to step up to help volunteer. We can't run this league without you all, so we really appreciate you guys just taking some time your busy schedules to help us out, and even just take some time to listen to this presentation. We're going to go through a lot of information along with just jersey information, practice information, just miscellaneous information all throughout. So sit back, relax, just listen on in. If you have any questions or concerns, you can always shoot us an email or reach out to Ches. We'll have that contact information um, later in this presentation. We're going to move on to meeting the staff. So our head director, the recreation director, is Jeremy Hobbs. He's been with I'm Third now, going into his 7th year. So we're just very fortunate and blessed to have him at the helm of I'm Third, and really providing the vision of where we want to head with I'm Third basketball, and just the organization in general. So you'll see him occasionally on game days, in and out. If you see him, feel free to just say hi. We just are, once again, so thankful having this season, and we just love seeing you people in the doors. So moving on to Ches, he's our basketball director, Ches Marks. Um, we're blessed to have him. He brings 10 plus years of professional basketball experience, along with just several years of experience working with the youth kind of kids. So he's done a great job of expanding our basketball program. As I introduce myself, my name's Eric Huster. I'm the assistant director. I do more operational type of stuff. So in soccer, I'm typically out at the fields while practices aren't going, fixing them up, to doing behind the scenes referee prepping, jersey prepping, stuff like that for basketball. You will see me occasionally on game days. So if you guys have any questions or anything, you can always pull me aside, and I'd be happy to help out. And then if you've been in our soccer leagues at all within the past 3 years, Michael Lippert is our soccer director and has done an excellent job of bringing such a great vision to our soccer program, and really exploding that program into something that is just something pretty phenomenal. So if you haven't joined in on that program yet, strongly encourage you to look into joining us this spring for some soccer. Uh, During game days and practice nights, you'll notice we'll have a lot of part-time staff around. We've hired several sports coordinators, which will be covering practice nights and just there to help serve and support you. So if you have any questions or anything, they are there on that night to help you get extra balls, first aid kit, whatever you kind of need. They'll be around, but they won't just be around on practice nights. They'll be there on game days as well. Also on game days, you'll see a sanitation crew. They'll be in there spraying things down, wiping things down, um, taking temperature checks, etc. So we'll have plenty of staff around to just help, just guide and help the flow of a game day, and crowding situations a lot easier. Also have scorekeepers. This is introducing lead refs, which is a new thing for us to do. These lead refs will actually be around kind of evaluating some of our newer ones, just to help them gain experience, get better, so we can provide a better experience for our young athletes. Moving on to just a general overview of our league. We have a little over 550 players this season. For those that have played with us in the past, you may think that this is a lower number, and you would be correct. However, for our benchmark this year, with the consideration of the pandemic and everything going on, that actually exceeded our expectations. So we're really just excited to see so many people wanting to get out, and it's just very encouraging that we can provide an outlet for everybody in our community just during this crazy time. So we're super excited. Games will begin January 23rd and 4th weekend. Um, that will be a heavier weekend, so with several teams getting multiple games that weekend. You'll see that when the schedule is released. So you may play, a few games on Saturday, or a game on Saturday, a game on Sunday. That is just for that first weekend. You'll notice that, and we'll get into that a little bit more later on. Picture Day, we're super excited to offer it. We're working some details out. Our target date is early February. What that's going to kind of look like is we're looking into potentially 2 weeks of pictures on practice nights, where we're alternating teams taking pictures. So we're just still nothing set in stone, throwing several ideas out and around. But once we kind of land on an idea, we'll pass that information along to you and your team. Optional practices are happening this week. If you haven't had your practice time just yet, that is fine. Just know that this week is optional. So we'll have staff there. Those that have practiced earlier on, you guys already know it. We will have staff there. We're happy to have you in, but we just felt like with everything kind of going on and the holidays, that was just best to make this week optional, and then starting the week of January 17th, our full league operations will begin. So practices are on. We're prepping for games that weekend. Jerseys will be hopefully being handed out at some point in time next week. So you'll see that come along next week. Some expectations of coaches. The number one thing that we kind of focus on, actually, there's two. One we'll get into a little bit later. The first one being devotionals. But then right after that is communication. You need to communicate to your team. And what that means is you need to send an initial email through our league app software. So you can download the app for Iron Third. That's probably the easiest. I've done that as a coach myself. And then I just shoot out a quick email introducing myself, saying that we're excited to have you on our team, and then letting them know when our first practice is. So if you haven't done that yet, please do so right now or first thing in the morning, so parents know that they have a coach and know what to expect moving forward. Additionally, you will send out weekly emails to your team. Just send them out, reminding them of practices, reminding them of game times, just checking in, just making sure that we're communicating to these parents weekly basis. And that can just be one email a week. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. It's just making sure that your team is in the know. You're also going to need to prepare for practices. That means just take some time, 10, 15 minutes, think about your practice, put a practice plan together, and then execute that. If you need help or anything like that, you can talk with Ches or reach out to me or somebody at Basketball at Lex Church. I would be happy to help walk you through a general practice plan to kind of help you out for the first few weeks. We're going to start sending out, starting next week, these drill videos. These videos are done by some local and national professionals, from some UK basketball players to other collegiate athletes as well. So they'll walk us through some different trainings through dribbling, passing, shooting, defense. So use those drills, implement them in your practices. This is just an extra resource for you and your parent, for your team, as you approach practices. When it comes to practices and games, can't stress enough, arrive on time for those. And parents, kids, they're relying on you. And so if you guys can't make it there, make sure you're just thinking ahead. And what that means is, if you know you're going to miss out on a game or miss out on practice, talk with your team about that. See if you can have somebody help step in for the day. And if not, worst case scenario, you can always reach out to us and say, hey, I can't find anybody. What should I do? And then we'll walk you through that process. Jersey pickup, you guys will be responsible to pick up the jerseys and distribute it to your team. You're going to have, like I said, lead devotionals, or you'll see later on, identify a parent to lead the devotionals. And then you'll be the main point of contact between us and your team. So those are kind of your main expectations as a coach. Now, when you fall into practice responsibilities, first-time coaches, you guys will receive a coach equipment bag starting next week. This includes some cones and some whistles that you can use during your practices, and you can just keep that moving forward. During practices, like I said, prepare and execute a good practice plan. There's a lot of good information out there. We can provide some practice plans for you if you need that. You just need to reach out and communicate to us. We want to provide the most resources that we can so you feel the most prepared for your practices, and not just for your practices, for the whole week. Delegate responsibilities if you can't make practice. Kind of like I said in the slide before, work on seeing if you can find an assistant. Work on if you're just wanting to be a head coach, but you're gone for a practice night, to find a parent that's willing to just step in and run practice for that time. So just make sure you're thinking ahead, delegating those responsibilities. Make sure players' equipment is spaced out properly, and that players and parents just maintain that 6 feet physical distance that is being asked by us by the CDC. So, we aren't going to fully police this, but just make sure that you're encouraging kids not to put their stuff right next to each other, but spacing that out. And then finally, you're going to lead devotions for the last probably about 5 to 7 minutes of practice. So those devotions, like I'm going to get in a little bit later, will be out starting next week. Some rules review. So in general, just familiarize yourself with the rules. We have attached the rules to this email where you were able to click the link on to watch this video. Just review it. Let us know if you have questions. Some key points, just so you know. K through, I believe it's second, may not be third grade, will only have one ref per game. Our third on up age divisions, I believe, have 2 referees per game. Boys K through first, there's a quarter adjustment. We had a higher tick in demand with all the teams that we offered, to a point where we play 4v4, but most teams actually are looking at 9, maybe 10 players. So in that case, we're actually going to add an extra quarter to just help allow for players to just have more playing time, knowing that it's 4v4. If we played a regular 4 quarters, not everybody would get equal playing time. So that extra quarter is there to help provide more playing time to players. Tip will be decided by a coin toss, very similar to KHSAA. And if you watched our parent video, KHSA does not govern us. However, we will monitor what they do, and they'll help influence some of our decisions, but they don't make our final decisions. We will. So that is one implementation that we have put into our season, in our 3v3 and this current season. Coaches are expected to lead their own team devotionals. We'll probably be splitting up teams rather than all coming together. You'll just do your own individual devotional. If you're in 3v3 program, once again, not much different there than what we did. During the regular season, there will only be 1 2-minute overtime. If the game's still tied, we're just going to call it. It'll be tied when we'll move on. When we get more into tournament or bowl season or something like that, we'll actually play it until there's a winner. For grades, grade divisions K through second, players will not use wristbands to guard people. We're actually ordering jerseys that will have numbers on the front this time. And we're just going to go off of that. Once again, just didn't think it was very COVID friendly to be switching in and out wristbands, or we just have to buy a lot of wristbands. So just to simplify things, we move towards just having players guard player numbers. It's not restricted to a place where once one kid has number one, he has to guard number one the whole time. No, it's just to identify, hey, you're guarding number 3 this quarter. That's who you're guarding. So that's the idea behind it. Please, coaches, as we go through the first weekend of games or so, if you notice any struggle or something like that, please give us feedback on this. Game schedule. Plan is to post that by this Friday, January 15th. Most games will be played at Centenary Church. When I say most games, there may be a few exceptions just to help us get everything in on time. So you may see it sporadically throughout the season, potentially playing at a different location that's still pretty local within a 10-minute drive. But most games will be played at Centenary Church. Most of the games will be played on Saturday. This is outside the first weekend of games. If you're in the 2nd through 6th grade divisions, you guys will get 2 games the first weekend. And so when I say most Saturdays, this first weekend, you may have a game on Saturday and you may play a game Sunday afternoon. So just be on the lookout for that when the schedule gets popped out. But that is really the only plan unless COVID hits and makes some more adjustments to our season later on. Some game time adjustments. What I mean by that is game schedules are still being drafted. They're still in that drafting stage. If you know that there is a weekend from here to the end of February that you're out, or you need your game to be more in the morning rather than the afternoon, or vice versa, please reach out to us by tonight or early tomorrow morning before we actually send that the finalized game schedules out. So just take that into account when you're listening to this and look at your schedule. Games will be played between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. That's a typical time for us. Most of the time, younger kids are in the morning, older kids are in the afternoon. Some kids that are playing in our league may be playing in a Lexington indoor soccer league. So we've made a few adjustments there, but most of the schedule is pretty set in the sense of younger kids in the morning, older kids in the afternoon. The K through first divisions will finish February 20th. They get 5 games throughout the season. And then the 2nd through 6th will have bowl games or tournament games February 27th weekend. The final thing that I'm going to touch on, the first week of March, that's March 1st through 7th, is our backup weekend, as I would say. If for some reason, a postponement or something were to happen due to COVID, we're targeting that week as a similar week of what we did in 3v3, where it'd be kind of a bubble week where teams would get multiple games on one night to kind of finish out their season. But we would provide more details into that if that were to happen. So just keep a mental note in the back of your mind about that. Some COVID protocols for coaches. This is pretty straightforward across the board for everybody. We touched on this during the parent meeting, but I'm just going to retouch on it here. If you're a coach, player, you had to complete that online acknowledgement release form. Some guidelines. You'll be screened upon entry. If you have over 100.4 temperature, unfortunately, we'll have to turn you away. And we'll have to find some way, whether it's your assistant or one of our staff members, to help coach your game. as you can see, we encourage our referees. But basically, if you have any snacks, waters, or anything that you decide to bring, you're going to have to bring it and bring it individually packaged. Or water fountains and stuff aren't being used. Masks are required if you cannot maintain that 6 feet physical distance. What that means is you'll still have to wear a mask coming into the facility, walking around the facility, but during the game, if you're coaching, you can pull that mask down to be more clear to a player. But we're still asking you to wear a mask majority of the time, unless it's to help be more clear to your team during a certain offensive set or something. Some protocols: if you receive a positive test, please assist our staff for contact tracing. This means email, text us, and let us know, and you'll have to quarantine to 10 to 14 days. And before you return to coach, you must present us a negative test. If you are direct or indirectly exposed, please email us or text us. We'll work with you on this. Not all cases are alike. So just send us what happened and we'll work together on that. Negative test will probably be required for you to return to the court, though, if this were to occur. If there's a league exposure and you're coaching a game against a player that may have received a positive test, we will notify you or say that you were in close contact. A test at that point in time is not required, but we will recommend that to you. Devotionals. This is, like I said, one of our key focuses this season. Any season we go into, it's God's first, I'm second, others second, sorry, and I'm third. And so what that means is our big focus is to make sure we do these devotionals, lead these devotionals for these kids, have them think about a greater purpose. So please make sure that you're doing this at practices and at games. Devotionals will be available starting next week, and coaches will be expected to implement them into practices starting next week. Coaches are responsible for leading these devotionals. However, you guys can identify a parent that may want to lead it, and then you can just have them lead it instead. But either way, it's very important that these are being done. These devotionals must be done 5 to 7 minutes, the last 5 to 7 minutes of practices, and 5 minutes before game time. Referees will call you guys to go and do that, but just to know, those are the times you'll be doing it with the teams. On game days, we will send out a text to the coaches to give you guys some extra questions just to review with the kids to make them think. They'll go along with the theme for that week. Next, some jersey distribution and coach information, or coach gift, sorry. So jersey pickup, coaches will be informed when jerseys are ready for pickup. Our goal is to have you guys just have to stop by on practice night or afternoon, depending on when you practice, to pick it up. And so you don't have to make an extra trip during the day to come grab it. So that's the goal. When we get those jerseys in, we'll send out a note and give you guys that process so you guys know what to do. A coach gift. So when picking up your team jerseys, all coaches can pick out a coach gift depending on how many years you've coached with us. Everybody gets some type of I am third gear that they get to wear during the season and whatnot. And this is just a simple thank you for, once again, helping in our league, helping with our kids, and we can't do what we do without you. So just know that when jersey distribution comes along. Some final thoughts. There's our contact information, basketball@lexchurch.com. You've probably been communicating with Ches, so feel free to work with him on any additional questions that you may have after this presentation. Just really appreciate you taking some time to listen in. And we look forward to having just such an awesome season with you coaches this season. Thank you for your time and hope you have a great night.